Welcome to the EX Sessions. I am Jason, agency founder, retention marketing expert, and all-around email and SMS enthusiast. We are here to dig into what really matters to leadership in D2C and e-commerce marketing with a special focus on retention. So let's get into it with our two guests today, both from Attentive. We have Keri McGhee, the CMO of Attentive, and Megan Miller, the VP of Revenue Marketing at Attentive. Okay, so Keri started your career in events. And I don't think that's really much of a coincidence based on, the way that we see Attentive run your events and your thread sessions and everything now. At Expedia, at Zillow, played a key role at building their entire B2B marketing function from the ground up. Today, CMO at Attentive, again, playing a key role in the massive growth that we've seen as they continue to evolve in the market. And as long as I've known Keri, she's been inspiring marketers to move past old school copy-paste marketing and into a more user-centric and value-driven approach, which is certainly a belief that I share wholeheartedly. So Keri, thank you so much for being here and welcome in.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Of course. And then Megan, you came from CRM just like me, which is amazing.
Yes.
Retail Me Not, you're running email campaigns, building nurture programs, like all that dirty work inside of channel. Then a lot of B2B marketing in Retail Me Not. And then you ended up at Attentive for 7 years, which is incredible.
Yeah, it's lucky number 7, right?
Lucky number 7, going from Director of Growth Marketing all the way up to your current role as VP of Revenue Marketing. I'm so thrilled that you're here. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So we ask the same 3 questions on every session. The point of that is because I just want to build a knowledge base around those instead of having random threads everywhere. Basically, what I'd like to find out is when you guys are so in the middle of retention, you're dealing with so many clients, you're trying to sell your own SaaS service out there. When you're talking with your customers and when you're seeing how CRM, email, SMS teams actually spend their time, where do you see them actually spending their time? And do you think that they're hitting it? Is it actually the right spot?
I can jump in and take this first one. Yeah. And talking to some of our CSMs who spend a lot of time with our customers, and then kind of comparing to that to my team who uses email and SMS just a little bit differently to talk to our customers who are retailers. I think a lot of CRM teams are still spending a disproportionate amount of time building those batch promotional campaigns. Like, yes, journeys are more table stakes, but that's time spent doing one-off sends, building segments manually, guessing at subject lines. Like, we fall into a similar trap, I think, on the B2B side. We kind of get stuck in campaign execution. And I think the mindset shift is building a scalable lifecycle engine. So I think the most successful or high-performing teams are doing that mindset shift from sending messages to more designing journeys across the customer lifecycle.
Yeah, I would add to that. Like, I talked to a lot of different leaders at a lot of our big brands and small brands too, and just the kind of like asking them like where your team's spending their time and like what do you wish was different, and even like talking to some of these big brands that you wouldn't think, right? Like these massive brands. They're like, I spend so much of my time manually trying to get into my data to even figure out how I'm going to provide some level of personalized experience. And the reality is, like, it's still very rules-based and it's very manual. And we want to keep going aspirationally because we have all the really amazing tooling with AI and agents and everything that you can do now. But there's so many dependencies. Like, is your data in the right place? Do you have the people working on the same thing? And I think what we're seeing is, like, people are just spending so much time being producers, like still literally in the work, designing, building the custom list, the segmentation. And it is a huge leap. And I think as what we're seeing, like the people that are starting to really scale and win are our customers who are figuring it out, right? Like, you have to be very dedicated. I talked to one CMO, she's like, we put a certain amount of time every week to say, we're going to shift how much time our team spends on strategy. It's like 10% right now. Our team needs to be strategists. They need to be spending like 30-40% of their time on strategy, not 90% on execution. And so, but we're still seeing that in the day-to-day, and that's what we're hearing.
I think just a +1 on top of that, it's the growing comfort scale of building trust and building confidence through results in AI decisioning. And so that allows teams to unblock their time on execution, on orchestration, and move more to like a revenue engineering mindset.
Everybody's trying to figure out what they're going to send this week.
It is that everybody has the same common problem, and the teams that are getting out past it are the ones who are really saying it's okay if revenue, or we don't spend as much time like on the day to day, but like we need a strategy on what's it going to grow this week, what's it going to grow this month, and what are the things, is it going to be journeys, campaigns, like where's the time that we need to invest to make sure our systems work. If the systems don't work, you can't actually scale to get this, like we're seeing massive revenue lift when people figure it out, massive list growth when people figure it out, but you can't get there if you don't actually like make it a priority.
And that actually leads right into the next question, like perfectly, because you're now talking about the metrics and the KPIs that back up the decisions. And if you're tracking revenue every day, then you're probably going to be worrying about campaigns every single day. When you guys are talking with your customers out there, what are you hearing the KPIs, the actual, the column that they actually care about and that they're thinking about when they're talking retention? Is it just dollars and that's where they stop?
I mean, I'll start this one, Megan, and let you chime in. It's definitely the bottom of the equation, right? Like the big number they look at is revenue, but like list growth matters, journeys matter, campaigns matter, all the metrics within that to tell you if they're healthy and if they're working matter. Those are the three things. Like we're in the middle of our annual planning cycle with our customers right now, and those are really the three metrics that we like double down on because they want to dive into like for how those are performing across their channels, right? But at the end of the day, like with the number where they say like, am I doing my job for the company? It's that revenue number. Like what lift or what incremental revenue, what total revenue am I driving through these channels? That still is the big like holy grail, I would say, of where they are. But there's all these other indicators and signals along the way that you can break down, I think, across the other areas. I don't know if you'd say the same thing.
I would plus one on that. I see CRM marketers, in the old, if you go back to 10, 15 years ago, we were really focused on open rates and click-through rates and like those more vanity metrics that don't really have a seat at the executive table anymore. I think the list health and those kind of reach metrics around list growth, subscriber identification rates, opt-out churn rates are the signals that the CRM marketer needs to know for managing their day-to-day. But then the KPIs that matter to the business are both those revenue-based metrics and those retention health metrics. So not only like revenue per channel, but like incremental revenue from automated flows or ROI on your key journeys, even revenue per subscriber are all things to be able to report out and understand if what you're doing is working. And then going a step further into retention health metrics, looking at, repeat purchase rate that directly influence, lifetime value of the customer. How long does it take to get to that second purchase? And what are the things you're doing to speed up that velocity? And can you tell a cogent story about that?
And those metrics happen in email and SMS. Like that's you're going to be able to see and action them, and hopefully they ladder up to what leadership needs out of it. That's why I like a tool like when you all launched the AI journey tool. What I thought was really interesting about it was pay per click instead of pay per message, which is a shift in that SMS model. And because the big pushback I heard initially was they're going to blast messages and then won't that be a great payday? But the pay per click nature of it is really an interesting, and it forces you to look at the metrics differently.
It does. And it gets to that. It's the same incentives. It's performance based, right? Like when you get into pay per click, it's not about how many messages is it going to take to get somebody to open, convert, or click through. It's literally like performance based. And I think when you start thinking about how retention marketers think, it still comes down to performance. And so I think the pay per click just makes a ton of sense for us, and our customers it's a very easy thing for them to sell into, right? As far as like we're going to get results versus pay for just to have the channel open.
I'm always very interested in the stories that are told over the data, right? Because there's the two layers of reporting. It's like, here's the number and here's the narrative. So this is another kind of like, I guess I'm asking you to channel your customers, which is not fair. But if you could, we talked about the KPI, but what type of stories and what do you think that they actually want from email and SMS? Is it market share, or is it, like at Tecovas, they say we want to be the coolest brand in America, so we have email and SMS goals to work towards that. Is there any funky, fuzzy stuff going on out there that you guys are hearing?
Funky or fuzzy? Like Tecovas is great, like because that's like a very strategic message about these channels help support them getting to that coolest brand out there. I like Megan, I listen to a lot of the QBRs. I'm on calls with a lot of different with customers. And I think the thing that that's coming to it is like using these channels not to just drive the product revenue, but to also drive like that brand affinity. Because like right now, brand is so important when there's so much choice, right? And you can choose on price. You can buy a blue dress anywhere. And so like, what about that brand is going to make you kind of gravitate towards purchasing through them? And we've seen customers, especially with like the introduction of RCS, right? Like these really conversational, highly dynamic, highly visual experiences, really lean into telling interesting stories about the customer experience, whether it's, the personalization going with it, but the ability to, Crocs is one example that comes up in our RCS right now because they're just such a visual brand. But like they can showcase a lot of information about the brand, about if it's a child you're buying for, if it's a person with specific interests, like they're using it to drive like brand affinity as much or more than performance a lot of times. And so I think these channels, it's where consumers are, right? We don't have necessarily that in-store experience across all of these e-commerce channels. And so they're using these digital channels as ways to like drive that brand, to drive awareness, to drive education, to highlight like one of the favorite use cases I get right now from all of our cool, they're using it for they're using SMS as their number one channel for all these releases or drops that are happening. They're like, we can build a ton of momentum. Like this is coming, like the Skims Kardashian, like the Nike collab, it's coming. And they can build out this huge runway of anticipation through digital channels that then pay off, into like 60-second sellouts of products. So that brand piece, I think, is where we're going to see it continue to evolve and see the technology get there too.
Yeah, agreed. And I think if I was just going to distill it down to what you're saying, that I think resonates with us as our brand, as Attentive, it's wanting your customers to know who you are and what you stand for, but also wanting to know about them with just as much depth. And so you can tell that story in a way that makes sense or really resonates with that person and really create that connection. And I think that ties back all of the things that we were talking about at the top of the call around identity, agentic opportunities to be able to reach them with the right message and then activate on what you know about that customer to tell that story and be known and be able to show off why purchase from you, why care about your brand, what do you stand for, what is your value, and why do you want to stay top of mind.
And it's not happening. Like try to do one of those plays and with meta ads and see how much cash you burn trying to extend a runway for one of those events.
No, for sure. It is expensive, right? Like every channel now is more expensive than it's ever been to actually get the conversion. But even with all the different demographics of the different shopper pools that we look at, people shop on their device and they want to trust the brand. And so I think like seeing it come to you direct one-on-one where it treats you like they know you, they're using all the data they have about you to deliver this experience that you're never going to get in mass from like a targeted meta ad today.
Yeah. I think since we started using two-way messages a lot for data collection, literally measuring the conversion rate on how many answers responses we're getting and then actioning that as this is a logjam. If we don't get this right, we can't do the next steps. That's been the metric that we've really gotten pretty intense on at the agency.
It's impressive.
All right. So those were the three questions, but rules are stupid. So I always at the last minute ask for just like a tip, right? There's a lot of people working in email and SMS right now, and maybe they want to find a bigger seat at the table. Eventually they want to kind of work their way through their org, or if they're running an agency or whatever it is. So if you have a single tip you'd give to somebody like that who wants to get their voice a little louder or have a bigger seat at the table, what do you think they could be doing today?
I can go first. Keri can validate for me because she's technically my boss. So I think this is relevant to both B2C and B2B marketers. I think you have to translate execution to impact, and you have to come with the language and the storytelling that makes what you are doing digestible and understood by people who are not in your day-to-day. A lot of people think they know marketing, can be marketers, marketing can be subjective at times, especially on the B2B side. And I think instead of coming to the table and be like, yeah, we sent 12 campaigns, our open rate increased 4%, like the CEO doesn't care about that, nor does he really understand what that means. You have to translate that into outcomes. So whether it's, driving a revenue increase from a strategy shift, it's, like I said earlier, increasing that time to second purchase in the CRM side. Is it you're changing your suppression strategy and that's, protecting the margin, or you're reducing unsubscribes. So like it's translating execution, like we talked about, where marketers tend to get hung up, into the so what and why CEO or a CMO care about that and the language that matters for what they need to go tell the board or the rest of the business.
I don't know if I can add to that. That was pretty perfect.
Well said. Yeah.
That is what matters, right? That is the thing. You don't go to every marketer out there who says we need to get on the AI train, right? Like we need to be adopting, we need to be doing agentic. Like frame it through a way of what does it allow you to do? Right? Like just the most simple way to think about agents and agentic. And when you're talking about, yes, it requires a lot of governance and backend and privacy, but ultimately to sell someone on it, or if you have a CFO or a CMO who's really excited about it, It's like ultimately it allows you to be where your customers are 24/7 when you as a marketer or a brand can't. It extends the value and the investment and the impact to the company so exponentially because it unlocks all these things that have never been possible before. And then try to quantify that against like, what could it mean? What could it mean if you can suddenly target the shopper who's always purchasing at 1 a.m. after they end their long day and maybe they've been gaming for an hour and they're ready to like actually buy and they've been searching all day? Like, what does that revenue mean to your company? And I think Megan's point, just to put on a pin, is like, focus on what is in it for them, for the outcomes for the business, and then back into why you would want to invest or test something. And I think that's what every marketer should be focused on. Moving from that operator to architect right now is the way to win the game.
Yeah, just a plus one on your thought. I think just to pull that thread apart a little bit more, I think there is a little bit of fear around, what AI is going to change about the everyday marketer's role. And I know my team are working on how we can be better adopters of it for our systems. We're building tools to enable our customers to use it. I think that the future and what Keri was speaking to, if you're the person in the room who understands like automated decisioning or predictive segmentation or better cross-channel orchestration, all powered by AI agents, like you're leading the transformation. You're the person who, leadership is looking to help drive the future of CRM and what it's becoming. And it's what Keri said, it's that systems thinking to drive the right outcome. You're not managing a campaign calendar. That is such the old world. The new world is becoming that architect and being the expert at it.
It's amazing. Well, thank you guys so much. That's the whole thing. I really appreciate the time. This was incredible. Look, as you know, EX manages quite a few clients with Attentive, but you may not know that it is my personal preference in terms of email and SMS platforms. So I don't know if I've ever actually told you that, but it is definitely my preference.
We appreciate it. And we love just the dialogue and the feedback, right? Like you and your customers continue to push us and make us better. So we love the partnership, Jason.
Absolutely. Yeah, fine. Attentive.com, right? Any other place they should be looking for? I mean, this is it, right? You know how to find Attentive.
You can find it.
You can find it. Well, thank you all for EX sessions number 2, and we'll try to keep it going for the next one. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks.